The jar under the bed. In a small village at the edge of nowhere lived an old man, everyone called lazy. He didn't work. Day after day, he sat on a creaking bench by his crooked fence, staring off into the distance, always talking about plans he never once began. One day, I'll open my own shop, he'd mutter to the neighbors. I'll buy land, raise some livestock, make a living without breaking my back. That day never came. People stopped laughing at him. Now they only looked at him with pity. His wife would sigh heavily and say, "Life isn't lived on dreams, old man. It's lived on work." He only shrugged. "Someday I'll find my way." The years went by, and life grew harder. Then one night, his grandson, thin, small for his age, asked quietly, "Grandpa, is there any bread?" His grandmother opened the cupboard. It was empty. The old man stared at the floor. Something caught in his throat. Dreams don't feed anyone. Ideas don't fill a stomach. He didn't sleep that night. Learning to work the next morning, shame heavy in his chest, he went out to hire himself as a day laborer in the fields. The work was brutal. The sun burned blisters into his skin. His back bent lower with every passing day. His hands cracked and calloused. Sweat ran into his eyes and stung the wounds on his palms. Alone in the middle of the field, he whispered to himself, "This is like a chain around my leg." In the evenings, he came home in silence, dragging his feet. His wife would set down a bowl of beans and 2 flatbreads. Never anything more. His grandson would hug him and ask, "Grandpa, how much did they pay you today?" The old man looked at the handful of small coins. Not much, grandson, but something. The money never stayed long, though. Food took its share. Medicine took its share. What was left on the table was a few small coins. Week after week, the money came and went. The roof still leaked. The hunger remained. The jar one afternoon, in the village shop, he overheard some men talking. "The secret is to save," one of them said. "If you're saving, you're safe." The words lodged themselves in his mind. That very night, he found a large glass jar and hid it under the bed. Every week, after buying only what he absolutely needed, he'd drop his coins inside. The clink of metal against glass made him smile. It was the sound of hope. One day, his grandson found the jar. "Grandpa, what's this?" "Our tomorrow," the old man answered proudly. But saving was painful. He went without new shoes, even after his old ones fell apart completely, tying them together with string just to keep walking. There was less and less food, stretched thinner and thinner. The plates were never full. One evening, his grandmother couldn't hold back anymore. "What's the point of saving if we're hungry?" He didn't lift his eyes. "Someday you'll understand." The jar that couldn't keep up, months passed, and the jar filled. To the old man, it looked like a life raft. One morning, they went to the market together. He laid the coins out on the counter. "I want 3 sacks of potatoes." The merchant counted the coins and shook his head. "Prices have gone up, old man. With this, you'll get 1.5 sacks. No more." The old man froze. "Money loses its worth," the merchant said simply. On the walk home, the jar felt as heavy as a stone. That night, he poured the coins onto the table and counted them, again and again. They weren't growing. They never grew. His grandson asked quietly, "So what's the point of saving, Grandpa?" The old man didn't know how to answer. The garden, the days grew darker. He grew weaker. There was never quite enough to eat. Sometimes it felt like there was no way out at all. The hopelessness sat on his chest like a slab of iron. One morning, sitting on the porch, he watched his neighbors pass by, one carrying a sack of potatoes, another a bundle of carrots. They walked calmly, not looking hungry or afraid at all. And that's when he remembered something his grandson had once said, long ago. "Grandpa, what if we planted our own potatoes?" This time, he listened. He took what little money remained and bought 3 kilos of seed potatoes and a sack of fertilizer. Behind the house was an old abandoned patch of land, overgrown with weeds. The old man picked up a shovel. His grandson helped pull weeds, laughing every time his grandfather cursed at a stubborn rock. "Now we'll have our own potatoes," the boy shouted happily. They dug 3 rows, planted the seed potatoes, and waited. Every day, the old man went out to check for the first green shoots. And then, one morning, tiny green sprouts broke through the soil. His grandson jumped with joy. "Grandpa, look! It's growing!" They watered, hilled, weeded. The work was hard, but it was different this time. This wasn't labor for someone else's benefit. This was their land, their harvest. The harvest. In the autumn, they dug up their first crop, 5 sacks of firm, healthy potatoes. His grandson rolled on the ground with joy. His grandmother wept with happiness as she sorted through the potatoes with her hands. Some they kept for themselves. For the first time in years, they ate until they were full. Potatoes with butter, potatoes with mushrooms, potato flatbreads. Some they sold at the market, and a few kilos they set aside as seed for next year. With the money they earned, they bought carrot and onion seeds. The next spring, they dug 2 more rows. The old man started an old notebook, writing down what they planted, when, how much they harvested. Every carrot mattered. Little by little, the plot grew. Cabbage appeared, then beets, then greens. The yard filled with life. Neighbors began stopping by for vegetables. Some traded milk, some paid in coins. For the first time in his whole life, work brought the old man joy. What the potato taught him, one autumn evening, the old man sat on the porch holding a large potato in his hands. His grandson settled in beside him. "You see, grandson," the old man said, "this potato is worth more than that whole jar of coins ever was. It feeds us. It grows again every year. It never loses its value. The earth doesn't lie to you." The boy hugged him. "Grandpa, so you're not lazy anymore?" The old man smiled, and tears glinted in his eyes. "No, child, I finally understood." The jar stayed forgotten under the bed, gathering dust. Whenever people brought up saving money, the old man would nod toward the garden and say, "Saving money is like holding water in your hands. It always slips through your fingers eventually. Put it to work instead, even if you're only starting with 3 rows." And so the man once called lazy came to know the greatest truth of his life. Don't hoard your money. Make it grow. What this story is really about, and if you're listening to this story right now, maybe you have a jar of your own hidden under your bed. Maybe it's money sitting in an account, doing nothing. Maybe it's a dream you keep putting off for later. Maybe it's an idea you're too afraid to plant. The old man spent years learning a simple truth. Money that doesn't work dies, like seeds never planted, like land never turned. Maybe this is your moment to stop and ask yourself, what am I holding on to instead of putting into the ground? If this story resonated with you, support it with a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments, what are 3 rows you're ready to dig starting today? What seeds will you stop hoarding and finally start growing? Don't spend your life accumulating what will only lose its value. Spend it growing something that will last. Take care of your time. Take care of yourself. And may every day be lived, not wasted, but truly lived.